อ gì chứ bố?
Tìm cái lưng này.
Tao lấy không? Đầu vuông không? Ở kia có một cái vậy?
Vâng.
Ở chỗ cháu trước có một cái vậy? Con sạc phòng.
Thôi. Hôm nay em xong chưa?
Vừa quay từ đã.
Em sẽ biết lúc tao quay lại tao quay đỡ rồi.
Được thì nóng vàng phải không?
Sạc đến lâu nó nóng. Nó nhanh. Chứ nhiều lắm đâu hết rồi.
Đấy là nhờ. Sáng nay nó có còn nào ta?
Không.
Hả?
Tăng giờ hít thuốc đi.
Nói đi.
Không anh để sao? Anh nào là chỗ mình lại. Không biết à? Giấm nhiều nước không đá. Biết là ngâm nhiều nhưng mà nhiều giấm nhiều nước không? Ôi, chung mẹ đi khoảng nào quay co lại. Bao giờ xong?
Sắp xong rồi.
Bà không nữa đúng không? Bà không nữa đúng không?
Ừ.
Blackheads usually start when pores become clogged with excess oil and dead skin cells, so prevention works best when skincare stays gentle, regular, and simple rather than harsh, aggressive, or constantly changing. Wash acne-prone skin no more than twice a day, and also after heavy sweating with a mild cleanser and lukewarm water, because frequent washing, rough scrubbing, and irritating products can make acne seem worse instead of better. Do not try to squeeze, scrape, or clean out blackheads at home, because that can worsen inflammation and may increase the risk of marks or scarring. Choose oil-free or non-comedogenic skincare, sunscreen, and makeup when possible. Remove makeup before bed and keep oily hair products away from the face. Over-the-counter ingredients such as salicylic acid can help unclog pores, adapalene can help prevent clogged pores, and benzoyl peroxide can support acne treatment, but these products may cause dryness or irritation at first, so it makes sense to start slowly, use a light moisturizer if needed, and give the routine several weeks before judging the results. If acne becomes painful, widespread, scar-forming, or does not improve after a reasonable trial of self-care, seeing a dermatologist is sensible. And now, with that practical advice folded neatly at the front like a clean towel on a bathroom shelf, let the rest of the evening belong to laughter, because in a quiet retirement town in Virginia, where every front porch had a chair for just a second, and every second somehow turned into 20 minutes of local intelligence, there lived a 79-year-old widow named Myrtle Jean Caraway, who had reached the age where she no longer believed in harmless mix-ups. In her experience, a harmless mix-up was simply trouble wearing lipstick and carrying a clipboard. Myrtle Jean lived in a pale blue one-story house with white shutters, a brick walkway, and a front porch so tidy it looked as though dust apologized before landing. Her late husband, Russell, had been practical in all the major matters and completely unreliable in exactly the way that made a long marriage worth remembering. He loved useless trophies, not noble trophies, not elegant trophies, useless ones. He once won a plaque for best cast iron cornbread at the county fair and treated it like military decoration. He won a ribbon for biggest tomato and wore it in the truck on the way home. But his masterpiece, the foolish object that somehow survived embarrassment, widowhood, and 3 attempted cleanouts of the garage, was a massive gold-painted trophy cup nearly 3 feet tall that read First Place Community Spirit. Though no one had ever been able to explain what contest had produced it, Russell claimed it came from a church field day raffle in 1997 and that he had earned it through visible enthusiasm. Myrtle Jean always suspected he won it simply because somebody needed it gone and he had been standing too close. Still, he loved it. He polished it. He displayed it in the garage on a little wooden stand and insisted it made the place look decorated with ambition. After he died, Myrtle Jean could not bring herself to throw it out. It stood there in the garage beside the folding chairs and paint cans, absurd and gleaming, like a monument to one man's cheerful refusal to take life at the correct seriousness. Her 2 closest friends were Betty Lou Pritchard, age 73, retired church secretary, owner of a floral handbag with enough internal compartments to organize a regional election, and a woman who could hear gossip before it had fully formed, and Earl Henry Watkins, age 82, former hardware store manager, amateur domino tyrant, and a man who trusted black coffee, extension cords, and his own instincts more than he trusted websites, scented products, or anyone who described an ordinary afternoon as an experience. Every Thursday morning, the 3 met at Clara's kitchen, where the biscuits were so large they looked deliberate, the coffee was dark enough to repair weak judgment, and the waitress, a broad-shouldered saint named Denise, called everyone honey in a tone that made affection feel both comforting and faintly supervisory. One Thursday in early spring, Myrtle Jean arrived 12 minutes late with a stack of orange tickets, a whistle on a lanyard, and an expression so sharpened by insult that Betty Lou lowered her toast before biting it, and Earl set down his mug without taking the sip he had plainly earned. That face, Betty Lou said, narrowing her eyes, means either the church women have invented another committee or somebody has put your name on something you didn't agree to. Myrtle Jean sat down, placed the whistle on the table like evidence, and said, apparently I am now the official ringmaster of the Senior Yard Game Olympics. Earl blinked once. Betty Lou blinked twice. Denise stopped in the aisle, with the coffee pot held in midair. You're the what? Betty Lou asked. Myrtle Jean slid one of the orange tickets across the table. It read, Golden Games Spectator Pass, and beneath it, in bold, cheerful letters, was her full name, her phone number, and the phrase, Lead Event Coordinator. Below that, on the flyer she unfolded next, were illustrations of beanbag toss, horseshoes, croquet, ring toss, and friendly relay walking. I did not volunteer for this, Myrtle Jean said. Yesterday, a man called to ask whether competitive bocce was spiritually different from recreational bocce. At 6 this morning, a widow named Diane wanted to know if fast walking would be monitored for fairness. 10 minutes later, another woman asked if couples were allowed to compete together or whether that would count as emotional stacking. Denise slowly set down the pot. This, she said, is first-class nonsense. Younger people might think a mistaken event flyer could be corrected with one apology and a quick reprint. Younger people do not understand retired Americans and organized recreation. In a retirement town, games are never just games. They are memory, pride, revenge, orthopedics, and the question of who still has good knees. By the time breakfast arrived, half the diner knew Myrtle Jean Carraway had somehow been announced as Supreme Commander of a community sports day she had never agreed to oversee. A man at the counter asked whether ring toss required its own bracket. A woman near the pie case wanted to know if pinochle should have been included for balance. Denise brought Myrtle Jean extra bacon for emotional reinforcement. Betty Lou had already turned over the paper, placemat, and written Olympics problem in large block letters. We're investigating, she said. Myrtle Jean sighed. We're eating breakfast. Both can happen, Earl replied, which was exactly the kind of sentence old people use when meddling has already become, in their own minds, a branch of public service. By 10:30, they were at the community center, where a laminated sign near the entrance read, Golden Games Early Registration, and a young receptionist named Kayla looked up and said, Oh, thank goodness, the game lady is here. Myrtle Jean stopped walking. I am not the game lady, Kayla blinked, but your name is on all the passes. That, Myrtle Jean said, is why this has become a governance issue. The real organizer, as it turned out, was not Myrtle Jean Carraway, but Margot Jean Carruth, a recently widowed 76-year-old committee enthusiast who loved lanyards, matching volunteer shirts, and the phrase, building joy through motion. Somewhere between the email draft, the poster proof, and the print order, Carruth had become Carraway, and because Myrtle Jean was the more familiar Jean in town, and because Russell's enormous silly trophy was still somewhat famous in local memory, everyone had accepted the error as fate. When they found Margot Jean in the activity room, arranging registration packets beside a crate of beanbags, she looked up, saw Myrtle Jean, and developed the expression of a woman suddenly remembering that truth had consequences. Oh dear, she said. That is not a fix, Myrtle Jean replied. Why am I publicly attached to lawn athletics? Margot confessed in a rush. The Golden Games had been planned as a fundraiser for the senior shuttle and community garden. She had reserved the hall, borrowed court markers, printed scorecards, arranged judges, ordered lemonade, and designed little medals for categories such as Best Team Spirit and Grace Under Beanbag Pressure. But the wrong name had made it onto the flyer, and by the time the mistake was noticed, cards had already gone into mailboxes, church bulletins, pharmacy counters, beauty salons, and one dentist's office. So, Myrtle Jean said in the calm voice that always meant someone else was about to regret something, because my husband once won a ridiculous trophy, and because your proofreading standards are morally weak, I am now publicly associated with beanbag governance. Margot nodded weakly. Earl made a small, offended sound in his throat. Betty Lou crossed her arms. How many teams are signed up? Margot looked down. 32. Myrtle Jean stared. Teams. Some are mixed. That is not comforting. She should have walked out. Any reasonable woman would have. But one glance at the roster and the little handwritten notes beside the names made the future perfectly clear. If she left, the day would collapse into cane traffic, ladder golf arguments, and at least one emotionally loaded croquet dispute. One participant required gentle seating transitions. Another insisted on avoiding teamwork with showboaters. Two sisters refused to compete in the same bracket because the shuffleboard misunderstanding remains unresolved. A widower named Hal asked if there would be a special lane for those still fast enough to know. Myrtle Jean exhaled once and said, I will help untangle this because otherwise a room full of old people will turn ring toss into civil litigation. The week that followed became absurdity in concentrated form. Myrtle Jean fielded calls about footwear, categories, scorekeeping, hydration, fairness, sun hats, and whether emotional competitiveness counted as a disability. A woman named Janie wanted to know if visor color affected judging. A man asked if horseshoes should be separated by shoulder reliability. Another woman inquired whether her nephew's physical therapist would count as a coach and whether coaching was allowed if it was done lovingly. Betty Lou took over the phones one afternoon and became so efficient that 4 people withdrew voluntarily. Earl handled equipment with the grim satisfaction of a man who had always known public recreation would one day justify his suspicions about humankind. No extension cords near the lemonade table, he muttered. I'm not dying at a cornhole fundraiser because somebody wanted a radio. Myrtle Jean, to her own horror, proved extraordinarily good at the entire operation. She color-coded the brackets, separated known rivals, staggered the walking relay so nobody with weak knees had to wait standing, and found herself clearing a space in her garage to use Russell's giant ridiculous trophy as the event's grand prize centerpiece because, as Margot put it just has presence. It has size, Myrtle Jean corrected, standing in the garage, looking at it under the dusty bulb. Still, she polished it. She could almost hear Russell saying, with that foolish, delighted certainty of his, that every event improved if it contained one item too large for common sense. The day of the Golden Games arrived under a bright sky and a breeze just strong enough to make hats morally unreliable. By 8 in the morning, the field behind the community center looked like a civic fairground assembled by people with arthritis and determination. Folding tables were lined with score sheets, cones marked lanes, beanbags sat in neat piles, ring toss pegs gleamed. The giant trophy stood on a table near the check-in desk with a sash tied around one handle that read, Community Champion, and Myrtle Jean hated how much it looked like it belonged there. Seniors arrived in waves, wearing visors, sensible shoes, knee braces, sunglasses, and expressions ranging from eager to battle-ready. There was Doris in lavender sneakers and a coordinated water bottle. There was Hal with his declaration of continued speed. There were the Pennington sisters wearing matching visors but refusing to stand together. There was one retired pharmacist dressed as though bocce might require legal representation. Myrtle Jean stood at the center of it all, with a clipboard, a whistle, and the weary authority of a woman who had not sought command, but knew the alternative was collapse. That was when Walter Dean arrived carrying a box of bottled water in one arm and a stack of folding scoreboards in the other. She had seen him around town before, newly moved in, tidy shirt, clean shoes, the sort of man who looked likely to put tools back where they belonged and mean it. He set the water down, glanced once around the field, and said, I don't want to alarm you, but the ladder golf station is already attracting men who intend to take it personally. Myrtle Jean looked at him. Who are you? Walter Dean, he said, temporary volunteer, neighbor to Margot, observer of predictable decline. She liked him immediately, which was inconvenient because she was busy. Can you help me? Almost certainly. Standby registration and look dependable enough to prevent a mutiny. He glanced down at his shirt sleeves. I think I can produce moderate dependability in outdoor conditions. She laughed before she meant to. The games themselves were exactly as ridiculous as feared, and therefore somehow magnificent. One woman, in a sunflower visor, accused the wind of bias. A widower named Clyde treated ring toss like a military negotiation. The Pennington sisters tied in beanbag toss, and each privately claimed victory on moral grounds. A man in a knee brace performed the walking relay with enough pride to move 3 widows to applause. Someone lost a hearing aid near the horseshoes. Someone else found it by sitting on it. The bocce match between 2 former school principals became so intense that Betty Lou had to step in and remind them there were no hostages. Through all of it, Myrtle Jean moved with frightening competence. She settled disputes, redirected traffic, found extra chairs, reorganized score sheets, handed out orange slices, and once used Russell's ridiculous trophy as a paperweight when a gust of wind tried to scatter the bracket board into the parking lot. Walter stayed near in the best possible way. He did not hover. He did not announce his usefulness. He simply noticed what needed doing and did it before it developed a grievance. He found the missing hearing aid, repaired a wobbly scoreboard with pocket tape, redirected a brewing argument away from the lemonade table, and at one point leaned toward Myrtle Jean and said, "For what it's worth, you are running this like a woman who has survived both marriage and committees." "That is not flirtation," she replied. "No," he said, "it's admiration." That landed, more cleanly than she liked. Later, during the lunch break, while old people in visors balanced paper plates of sandwiches and opinions about beanbag fairness, Walter appeared beside her with 2 paper cups of coffee. "I'm glad the flyer got your name wrong," he said. She looked at him over the rim of the cup. "That is a reckless sentence." "Probably," he said, "but accurate. She should have dismissed it." Instead, she glanced toward the trophy, that absurd shining monument to Russell's cheerful nonsense, now presiding over a room full of old bodies, old loyalties, and old people still willing to line up for something simply because a sunny day and a good enough lie had told them it might be fun. She laughed. "You say that now," she replied. "You haven't yet dealt with the finals in croquet." "I was married 40 years, Walter said. "I'm not afraid of conflict. I'm afraid of poor scheduling." That, more than anything, was what got her. Not charm, competence. A man who feared poor scheduling was a man with usable character. By the end of the afternoon, nobody had broken a bone. 2 minor rivalries had become louder but no more dangerous. The shuttle fundraiser exceeded its goal, and the giant trophy had been awarded to a team of 2 widowers who won the relay, the ring toss, and the admiration of half the women under the awning, simply by remaining calm, hydrated, and apologetic when stepping on a cone. The next week, the town behaved as though the Golden Games had been part sports event, part civic miracle. People discussed results at the pharmacy, in the grocery line, and beside the post